Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2011 North American BattleNet Invitational. We are in sunny Southern California at the Blizzard offices inside of their studio.
Yep. And it's been a fantastic tournament so far. You've been watching all the action with me, Luke Virulence Bodenheimer, and my buddy,
Jared V. Hell Colston. Now, the big thing we are talking about right now, of course, we are at the grand finals. Two very well-known teams in terms of looking at the players on the teams. Now, look at the path that these players have had to go through. I mean, look at Team EG going all the way through the top of the bracket, losing to Slip and Slide, getting knocked down to play against Complexity in the lower bracket final, and now they have a shot again at taking this championship. Of course, both these teams currently have made it to BlizzCon, and that was the big deal about this tournament. Yeah, but not only is there more money on the line currently, you get a better seat at BlizzCon and, of course, bragging rights.
Exactly, and that goes a very, very long way, because especially when you roll into BlizzCon with that first seed, you're going to say, you know, we're obviously the best in North America. We're going to make it happen. And I'm honestly just surprised that Team EG actually fought their way back up and made it here. After seeing that bout with Complexity, I really thought Complexity might have pulled it out. We've seen so many incredible matches so far. This one will be absolutely no exception. There's not been a single boring match in the lot, but you got to know, Team EG and Slip and Slide feeling pretty good securing that spot for BlizzCon. It's a very big deal for them. So much practice went into it, so much coordination and time spent in game, and it's all paid off for them.
Now, out of these 8 teams that were invited to this tournament, you know, we did have one team that was disqualified because they didn't have a healer show up. Of course, Team Massives wasn't able to attend this tournament, but everyone else, absolutely stellar performance. All these teams, I mean, even though you look at the brackets and you've seen a lot of 3-1, 3-0s, that really doesn't tell the story, and you guys can review the videos and find out exactly what happened. Now that these two teams have qualified for BlizzCon, though, I mean, I know that they're going to be very, very concentrated on this game, but you know they have to be thinking already about who they're going to be facing. Right. We've already had the European qualifiers finish, so we now know what the two teams, at least 2 of the teams worldwide, that they are going to be facing at BlizzCon. Of course, Showtime, and look at that. You have a very well-known name right on top. Actually, both Another and Fabs are well-known players that have played before. Of course, Glyptic is going to be the new player to kind of round out the team. But man, Another on Death Knight. Yeah. It doesn't matter how long he's been away from the game. He always bounces back quickly.
Yeah, he's a really solid player, and that's good information to have too. If you think about for the U.S. players, they're going to know the EU teams they're going to have to deal with, and EU is just going to know who U.S. has to deal with. So as we get closer to BlizzCon here, you will see the pros start to practice, and they're really going to have to buckle down because we're outing a region this year, more competition, and even better BlizzCon. It's all going to be very, very sick. But this match is all going to decide who's going to be first seed, who's going to be second seed. Like you said, money and bragging rights. Let's get it underway.
All right, Team EG has had a phenomenal performance so far. They've been playing that Shadow Play comp, of course, with Azael on Warlock. We've got Cdew playing the Resto Shaman Healer, and, of course, Talbadar, very well-known Shadow Priest. Now, they're going to be playing against Slip and Slide, and look at the 3 names on there. Everyone knows these guys. Pookz is going to be playing Mage. Of course, we're going to have Snutz on Warlock and Toez as the very dynamic healer. We've seen him play Shaman a bunch. We've seen him play Holy Paladin. I mean, he was the only Paladin we've seen so far at this tournament except for the triple DPS Ret Paladin, which showed its face for a little while on Chris Thorman's team.
And they've got a good dynamic team, though, because you look at Snutz, you know, he's actually also a really good multi-class player as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if that really aided them, not only in this matchup, but when they go to BlizzCon. But I have a feeling they'll stick with that MLS, because we saw in the upper bracket they were able to really focus down Cdew super hard, and they just played it perfect. So I kind of expect, you know, Slip and Slide to go into this with a huge confident booster. You know, like they're already sitting on top. They know they can beat Team EG. So now what I'm wondering is how is Team EG going to adapt to this matchup? Because while they're still going to BlizzCon, it'd be real nice to get first.
All right, so on the team of Slip and Slide, the big deal that has been in these matches so far has been the healer. There has been so much emphasis on the healer surviving. A lot of shamans have been playing, you know, they definitely have those massive cooldowns that they have to manage. You know, they can't just use all their cooldowns at the same time, and Toez is no exception. You know, he has been absolutely meticulous. When he played Holy Paladin, I mean, that's what I play online, and just watching him very slowly cycle through all those cooldowns, I mean, we've seen him play so many different healers. He's a great priest, a great druid, a great shaman, and a great paladin. I mean, we've seen him play everything.
Yeah, we've seen him keep them all alive at sub 50%, in fact, is that MLS. It's been very, very impressive. And he'll have to pull out all of his tricks if they want to remain on top here against EG. And healing for Team EG is, of course, the one Cdew, otherwise known as Tenderloin. Tenderloin QT, many names, but one amazing shaman sitting right there playing for EG. He's been absolutely clutch in a lot of these matches, playing good positioning, not overextending.
And you talk about some matches. I mean, that last match we had where he had no mana whatsoever and still able to keep his team up and score a kill. What a great job. I know that I always play healing classes myself. I mean, that's just what I like to do, support classes. And watching these players, I'm always so impressed standing behind them, watching them play.
Yeah, it's incredible just the amount of focus it takes and the practice. And look at him there, just roaming around, double-checking everything. You see Snutz in the middle there. Pookz will be on the far end, but Toez closest. Snutz, usually the caller for the team, the very, very loud vocal one. You'll hear him yelling quite a few times, I'm sure. You know, like I said, the pressure's kind of off in the sense that these guys are going to BlizzCon, but they are still playing for pride and money.
Yeah, I mean,
two things are very
if you're at this
important.
point, so you got to look at Team EG being, they're down currently. They're going to have to defeat them in 2 best-of-5s. If they want to take first place. And that's not an easy, at all. Shadowplay versus MLS is going to be kind of hard for Shadowplay right now. I mean, they're going to be very susceptible to large amounts of damage that this MLS team can do, plus these longs, crowd control chained. So we have been given the signal that the players are ready to get this game started. Of course, this is the grand finals for the 2011 North American Battle.net Invitational. Let me get both of these teams in right now as I'm going to choose, because we know there's going to be a big warlock battle. I'm just going to use them as the people to queue the 2 of these guys up.
Yep, sounds good as we get that match underway. Like Jared was saying, the MLS versus Shadowplay really favors the MLS, especially if you watch the earlier matchups. You can see the focus onto Cdew. Pookz getting in there, keeping his fingers of frost procs up, using freeze, and just a little bit of luck. He's able to do a lot of instant cast damage, and that is just absolutely paramount when you're chasing down a healer who can cast on the move. Staying mobile and staying with him is very important. That Ring of Frost Howl combo out of Pookz and Snutz you see sitting right there side by side, that's going to be extremely important if they want to show Team EG that they are, in fact, going to take that first seed.
Yeah, I'm going to be so impressed with the Warlock play, because look at the map we have. It's going to feature the Warlocks, of course. They are going to be the ones that are going to determine how much mana their healer is going to have to cast, basically.
Just fixing the score for you. It is going to be a best of 5, not a big best of 11.
And it's okay. The scoreboard will reset once we're out, and we are in the first match for you guys. Once the doors open, of course, we are going to have Team Slip and Slide, which is on the top left. Got a little bit of confusing names because this is played on the tournament realm, and the first thing that players do is they gank well-known players' names.
Yep. So you see to change it up, Gabrielle is actually Snutz. Inui is actually Pookz, like you were saying, crawling back his toes there.
Okay, so let's take a look at who we're going to be following straight out of the gate, and that, of course, is going to be Pookz, because his deep freezes have been absolutely deadly. See if he can get a great bout of deep freezes onto Cdew, which is what I do believe they're going to plan on doing.
Yep, and he needs to have a strong opener up top here. You see Pet out, go for the template. There's the freeze, already putting some early pressure out on Talbadar. This is where the Frost Mage really shines. Top side of Blade's Edge. He doesn't really want to go down there. You see just blowing Frostfire Orb real quick. Throwing it deep onto Cdew, putting some instant cast pressure on him there. You see just 2 Ice Lances. And a COC, he's got UA rolling him as well, and instantly onto Cdew. They're just going to go all in on there. He gets that healing surge off. I see no control here on Pookz. Ooh, it looks like his poly. He fakes the poly on Sheer and does manage to get it off. He gets death from Talbadar there, though, and he will stay out of that CC and just try to channel damage. Looks like he's going to switch over to Snutz here for a second.
Oh, but no, Cdew's still taking a lot of damage right now, down to 50,000 health, but there's also a lot of off pressure onto Talbadar, that Ring of Frost, but he's caught in a deep freeze inside of it, plus the Death Coil on top, down to 60,000 hit points. This is what I thought they were going to do. So much damage onto the shaman.
Yeah, and look at Azael. Azael's actually completely out of this fight. He's on the bottom ground, and he's just casting up onto the ramp. He's taking no pressure from AE. He just got hexed, trinketed fast, getting back into the fight. And he wants to put some pressure out on Pookz, keep Pookz from sticking to Cdew, because that's going to be a big issue for them going into this match. Cdew's going to have to spend a lot of mana to heal and just to stay alive, and they will lose in the long run if they do not control that MLS burst.
All right, now we do see that Pookz was looking to go onto Talbadar because Talbadar was trying to dump a little bit of damage into him, but he was a viable target at that point with that Tauren Priest being stuck down at the bottom. But look, Azael by himself, no healer to be found right here. Could be a bunch of damage coming out, but Azael is going to port back up. But Cdew is going to be being on playing the female orc shaman, so if you do see that happen, him running around, that's the healer you're going to be looking for.
Yep, and they went Horde for the increased stun reduction because they knew Deep Freeze was going to be a serious issue. So a smart play here by Cdew.
Yeah, I definitely heard the players already talking about that. Cdew was talking about running the meta gem for the stun duration reduction, plus having the hardiness, that orc racial. It's a great idea. Now look at the, it is going to be Talbadar that's stuck in that Nova right there. The deep freeze onto Cdew yet again, but I love these defensive fears that are coming out every time that we see a deep freeze happen.
Yeah, and it's so important. You think, oh, well, I mean, it's just a slight, percentage reduction in time. But you see the difference between the deep freeze. It's the difference between 5 and 3. And,
oh, but look at this damage. Oh, the damage coming out onto Toez right now, who is, wow, picking himself back up. That's lots of heals coming out, able to drop down out of line of sight. And remove all those dots off of himself. Oh, there we go. A death coil onto Snutz right now. See if we can get Snutz up. And look where he is by himself, down to 20,000 hit points, but able to line of sight back behind the pillar, which is very important, and decides to create a health stone, which is important if you have used one, because if this game goes long enough where that cooldown is refreshing, those are the little things that add up late in the game.
Yeah, for sure. And he will be low because of the nature of Shadow Play. Health stones should definitely not be overlooked. In this particular matchup, Wizards has always been
really like
close.
that Mind Seer. He knows he's going to be going out of line of sight, but it is going to hit everyone on the team, which is going to stop any sort of drinking possible.
Yeah, we spoke with Talbadar too, and he mentioned that was going to be a viable strategy for him, and it's good to see him really making it work. I like EG how they're looking here. They're sticking to their guns top side, and they're really taking advantage of their just situational advantage, their position right here. As Pookz tries to push up, he's getting in their face with that polymorph. He's got CS up, but he is down to 30k, and he's going to pop that, looks like Glyph Evocation, get a little self-heal on.
Oh, but look, Toez with a silence right now. This could be some trouble for the team of Slip and Slide. Toez down to half, and there's the Spirit Link totem, but everyone was already at half already, so it's not going to help him too much except for the incoming damage prevention. That totem is going to die there. Another deep freeze onto Cdew, who's going to trinket it. Oh, but and they, wow, almost caught into that ring again, but there is a coil. We're down to 20,000 hit points. Cdew taking so much damage. Azael is crowd controlled right now with that nature swiftness, plus a spell, a counter spell on to Talbadar and a sheep. So much crowd control coming out onto TEG.
Yeah, Cdew's eating that spell lock, and Pookz actually blew his refresh, his cold snap to get that second ring and that second deep, because he deep Talbadar full, and then he went for the second deep on the Cdew immediately after. So Pookz is actually looking kind of bad on defensive cooldowns.
Yeah,
from,
that ring was by
standpoint.
itself up on the ramp. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe he thought that Cdew was headed over there, so he decided to ring ahead of him, but it was kind of premature.
It was, for sure. Little things like that will definitely cost them.
And Pookz is deep, having to block with his shaman being deep right there.
Yeah. It's good that he got up there, refreshes that barrier. It's a pretty good amount of absorb, with Glyph. It's about 4,400 damage absorb. So
look at so much damage on to the team of Slip and Slide. Everyone getting dangerously low because Snutz down to 39,000 hit points. And but look at the mana currently on Toez. This isn't good because Cdew is up to 66,000 mana.
And like I said, Team EG, I really like how they're playing this. They're playing that strong top position, and now it looks like Cdew's just going to hang out up top while Talbadar and Azael get down bottom and do work. And with that top, available, forcing Toez to play down bottom, they're just going to keep the pressure on. They're going to keep him from drinking because Cdew will be able to shock him if he starts to drink behind a pillar or anything like that. They've got the high ground quite literally, and it shows. Look at these health bars. Pookz, like I said, not doing so great on cooldowns. Snutz not doing all right himself. He's coming back up with Hal. His portal's up. His death coil is not quite back up yet, so no good setup power. And then, of course, Toez, hurting a little bit on mana, but you see him just refresh that water shield. So DRs are off of EG right now, which is going to be pretty important for this MLS.
Oh, and Toez look at Toez, no more mana. I mean, he's down to 7,000 mana with Snutz being very low. A Hex onto Toez right here. It's not looking good for the team of Slip and Slide as Snutz takes a massive amount of damage. 22,000 hit points left. Great job faking that cheer by channeling that searing pain.
Yeah, definitely.
But look at Toez. Toez is in so much trouble right now. 25,000 hit points with the entire caster team on his back as the damage just comes out from Team EG. And it looks like they are going to take that first round. Cdew sitting perfectly fine, 52,000 mana.
Yeah, they played that very, very well. They kept a good amount of pressure up on
Man,
Toez.
there is tons of damage everywhere, though. Look at these numbers. Of course, we do have a 39,000 Mind Blast. I can only assume that's what it was from Talbadar. But on the other hand, you have some big Frostbolts coming out of Pookz.
Yep, that 32k against frozen targets, just getting that little percentile boost. Definitely showing. His Ice Lance probably hitting for another 20k after that. So, really, if you see that highest damage dealt, that 32k was probably about 50 in one global, just to give you an idea of what kind of damage Pookz is putting out against Cdew.
Now, to give you an idea of the difference in mana, we talked about mana so much, and the reason why is, look, Azael has 185,000 damage during this fight, and Talbadar has 100,000. So you take a look at the difference, Gabriella having 144, Pookz having 82,000, but look at the healing done by both healers. Now, of course, Toez was completely out of mana towards the end of there, and had to spend about 200,000 points of healing, of course, or 2 million rather. And then, of course, on the other hand, Cdew doing 1.5, but still staying perfectly fine. So that means that dot pressure is paying off for the team of Team EG.
Oh yeah, there's absolutely no doubt about it. They're ahead by 700,000 or 800,000 damage in a relatively short Blades Edge match. And, that adds up very, very quick. Like you said, puts Toez way behind, and that's what we've been talking about all throughout this tournament with Shadow Play. If they can keep that pressure spread out really well, it just overstresses the Shaman's mana, and he's unable to regen properly. He's unable to sit down for a drink. And Blades Edge, I think EG played that absolutely perfectly. Took the high ground, sort of gave it up for a second, and then said, no, posting Cdew up here with Portal, and we're just going to come down and chase you. And that's exactly how they need to play against MLS going forward into this.
Right, so it sounds like both teams are ready yet again. Going to get these guys into another map. Looks like the Grand Arena is going to be round 2 for the grand finals of the 2011 Battle.net Invitational.
Oh, yes, and it's been a fantastic tournament up until this point. Both of these teams are guaranteed to go to BlizzCon, but they're fighting for that first-place seed, a little bit of extra cash. And the Grand Arena is an excellent map for them to do it on. We saw that MLS, they've got a huge advantage in the open field. They can really stick to Cdew, and that's the big weakness of EG versus this Wizards comp. So we'll see if Slip and Slide can maybe pull it back here, disallow Team EG to take it to maybe a second series, because make no mistake, Team EG has a long road ahead for first seed. They've got to beat them in this series, and then another series right after that if they want to take the first place. But hey, like we said, the pressure is off in a sense. It's not crunch time. It's not go home. No, these two teams are going to BlizzCon. Right now, they're just duking it out to see who's the best in North America.
It is, and I think we talk about so many times how your bracket placement can matter so much. Of course, these 8 teams were invited in order based on how well this team has been doing, in the past history.
Right.
And that's going to put their position in the bracket. So you look at these top-ranked teams, such as Slip and Slide, and they actually end up getting a bye at the beginning because of where they were placed in the bracket. So that's why this match is so important. If Team EG wants to take that top spot, possibly getting an easier bracket at BlizzCon, they need to make things happen right now.
Exactly.
Out of the gates, of course, we are going to try to figure out what happened last time with Toez, as we see some Mass Dispels come out immediately from Talbadar, who is going to hit a UA.
Yep, Toez playing back, and actually, Talbadar getting there very, very aggressive. This is good. He'll be able to break things up, not allow Wizards to set up. That's a big deal. They need to get the damage spread out quickly, and they just need to absolutely avoid the big shatter combos. You see Talbadar caught into a full hex there, not trinketing too early. There's 2 UAs rolling on EG, one on Talbadar, one on Cdew. Cdew's rolls off, and I see a UA onto Snutz, and Toez got a Dispel Silence there. And Azael having to pop his Trinket. kind of an inopportune time for him, and he'll just basically come out here and start re-rolling dots. They're in a good position. Now Talbadar under pressure. Azael needs to get over there and peel for him, but he is a little bit out of position. You see he's right around the corner from Azael, and yeah, Talbadar will be able to pull away from there. Wow, the water elemental just gets destroyed. Cdew caught into a deep freeze, but that's going to disallow Pookz to get 2 Fingers of Frost procs on demand using that water elemental freeze. Cdew under pressure now. UA rolling on. He's got Earth Shield on himself, spiking down to half. If he keeps Earth Shield on himself too long and just keeps healing, you know, we're going to see some mana issues out of him, just like Toez.
Oh, but look at that look at that ring right there. Yeah. Talbadar was caught in it, but that fear is going to catch Toez. Toez is going to let it completely ride out, but look at that. Snutz death coiled away because they know tons of damage is coming onto Cdew, who is also in a deep freeze right there, trying to heal himself back up, you know, kind of faking a little bit here and there. Another healing surge. Oh, he's completely locked. He's going to drop some totems to help himself out right now.
And Azael just getting out of that poly, throwing Han out, needs to get some fears going and get those guys off of Cdew if at all possible so he can maybe put Water Shield back on and they can focus pressure. What a fear! Azael, Talb, and Cdew out into the midfield. Talbadar definitely way out into the middle of nowhere. Need to see some serious CC out of MLS if they're going to pull this out because that was a great opportunity.
I liked that life grip right there. It was good. You know, he kind of swapped his LOS position, switching pillars because that's where all the action was happening. And when you're so close to both of these warlocks, you're constantly going to be eating those Howl of Terrors. Now look at Azael taking a ton of damage. Looks like his pet is fine though, so it's just a huge spike of damage coming out. But Pookz, wow, I mean, look at the damage. It's just everywhere this match.
Yeah, and he's just standing. He's basically half to cast in their face at this point. He's throwing out shots on that deep freeze. Azael sitting in a full deep. You know, no meta for him. Definitely no stun reduction for Azael. So that was a full deep
that
freeze.
Spike damage coming from the Frost Mage right there as he tries
blanketed.
to keep him frozen. We see a trinket from Pookz, but he gets feared immediately. The entire team of Slip and Slide was fear. However, that was a Howl of Terror and Psychic Scream at the same time, setting that fear DR. So they're not going to be able to capitalize on any movement with fear. However, silence.
Yeah!
Oh, wow! And that is amazing. That damage just came so quickly onto Snutz.
Yeah, and Talbadar able to get a free cast off. Azael's dots rolling. That's exactly what can happen when Shadow Play, you know, gets the upper hand. Talbadar will just find a target and blast him out of nowhere.
Yeah, and you know, there's a few moments of ramp up. It's not like Shadow Priest can just, you know, hit Mind Blast and it just does a massive amount of damage every time. There's a little ramp up. They do need to get those Shadow Orbs rolling, and it's going to require them to cast Mind Flay. And, you know, a lot of the times they might want to just try to spread their dots around, but they need to keep casting that Mind Flay when they get the opportunity. And there's the big number right there. 50,000 damage.
That's the biggest single hit we've seen so far in this tournament.
It is. It definitely is. I thought that 42k Fulminate was big, but 50,000 damage out of this Tauren Shadow Priest.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And if you're wondering, hey, why did Snutz just die? Well, there you go.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, 50k hit, take anybody down. Snutz was already low, really exposed out there. I agree with you on Talbadar's life grip. That was very impressive to swap basically their line of sight positions, and they got a good line. There on Slip and Slide. Slip and Slide just didn't rotate, you know, to guard for it. They just stood out in the open and said, "Oh, whatever, you life grip, we'll just still take you on." And as we saw, Talbadar very, very capable of tearing people's faces off.
Yes, he is.
Suddenly.
It looked like almost a completely different team this time around, though, at the beginning for Team Slip and Slide. One of the things that happened on that Blade's Edge match was Azael was able to get dots out everywhere, same with Talbadar, of course. And there wasn't much time for them to dispel that UA. Yeah. You know, when you get those free moments, we talked about that a lot in those long, drawn-out matches, that every single time they can get that UA off the target and eat the silence themselves, wait that time out without anyone dying during the silence, because we've heard these players yell, he just dispelled a UA, you know, get on him and stuff. But that isn't what happens normally in these long matches. However, that's something that Toez and Cdew know, that because there's so much damage coming out, that those dispels can cost you the game.
Yeah, they can, and they try to get the dispels done early, you know, so they're eating that silence. You want to dispel it early if you can, because obviously it's going to do less damage the less time it's on your target, and thus less healing necessary for the shaman. But yeah.